Now, next we have the name Jehovah. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses call upon this name day in and day out. They pray to Jehovah. If something goes right in their life, they will thank Jehovah, even out loud, day and night, year in and year out. However, if you ask the average Jehovah's Witness where the name Jehovah comes from, they will not have a clue. Now, in the 1980 Watchtower, it clearly gives us where the name came from. It says, interestingly, Raimundas Martini, a Spanish monk of the Dominican order, first rendered the divine name as Jehovah, no H. This form appeared in his book published in 1270, over 700 years ago. So here we have Watchtower admitting back in 1980 that they did not come up with this word Jehovah, that a Spanish monk of the Dominican order first came up with that word. Next, we have here the New World Translation, 1950 edition, foreword. It says, while inclining to view the pronunciation Yahweh as the more correct way, we have retained the form Jehovah because of people's familiarity with it since the 14th century. So Watchtower is admitting that Yahweh is the more correct way to pronounce Almighty God of this world, yet they insist on using Jehovah because people are supposedly more familiar with it since the 14th century. So it's saying that even though we believe to be God's one true religion, we're going to stick with calling him what other people have been calling him. We're not going to use Yahweh. We're going to stick with Jehovah because people are familiar with Jehovah. That's what they said in 1950. Now we're going to look at masonic.wiki.com under the word Jehovah. It says Jehovah is, of all the significant words of Freemasonry, by far the most important. So now this can be found in many Freemasonic glossaries. This is not just this one website that's quoting this. You can go out and buy a physical copy of a Masonic glossary, and under Jehovah it will say the exact same thing. So the question is, why does Watchtower go out of its way to use the word Jehovah, even though they know or they claim that Yahweh is the far more correct way of pronouncing the God of the Bible's name? Well, it's because it has to do with being part of this world. They refuse to use Yahweh because Jehovah connects them to the rest of the world. In gematria, which is what the powers that be use, we can find gematria throughout news media articles, propaganda, education, indoctrination. This is the type of spell magic that they use to control people all around the world. In any box that you may find yourself in, you have to understand that they're all connected. So Jehovah in gematria in one cipher equals to 33, and so does JW. And 33, for anyone that doesn't know, it's the highest degree of Freemasonry, as they will have the public know at least. Now you're going to see that number a lot when you begin waking up to the deception of the world. And like I said, it's the highest degree of Freemasonry. This is why the witnesses do not use Yahweh. It's because Jehovah is a made-up name that connects itself back to Freemasonry. Now, I also found it interesting that in another cipher, Jehovah equals 120, because 120 in the Bible, it's one of the few numbers that Jehovah or Yahweh has spoken to man. In Genesis 6:3, he says that man's days will amount to 120 years. And in Deuteronomy 34:7, that's the exact age that Moses died at, 120 years. So a bit more of the spell magic that the Watchtower organization uses, as well as the rest of the world. They are indeed part of the world, and you're going to see this type of thing come up the more you look into it.